Thank you for joining Cancer Support Community Atlanta for this program. Please visit our website, cscatlanta.org, for a complete list of live and recorded events. We invite you to sign up for our newsletter to stay connected to all future programs.
So we're going to do a couple of recipes. I hope everybody likes tomatoes. And then we're going to make a really easy tomato watermelon salad. This one's great. Watermelons are also in season, so we're going to have watermelon chunks, cherry tomatoes chopped up with that, some red onion, some basil. I had some mint left over here in the fridge that I found from the last time I was here, so we're going to throw that in there too, just because that's what we do here. We throw things together that we have in the fridge. Any kind of herbs work. If you're growing dill or you want to use your fennel fronds, these tops of the fennel work great in there as well. Don't let them go to waste. Favorite type of vinegar, some oil, salt and pepper. Cheese is optional if you want. We were talking about that earlier. Just a really nice salad in the summertime. So this one works well if you make it the day before and let it kind of marinate, okay? And then I threw in a bonus pickled watermelon rind for anybody here that's an overachiever and wants to go home and chop up the watermelon rind. I'll quickly go over that when we get to the end there on how to make that. I've made it before. It's a classic Southern thing. Pretty tasty. I saw ooh and ah. You like it? See? Yeah. It's a very older classic. Yeah, it is very good. You can put it in a canning jar and put it up, right? Is that what your mom did? Yeah, and I've kept them in the fridge, or just if you want to can them and preserve them, you can do the whole process and keep it in the basement or whatever and pull it out when you want. It's a great little snack, appetizer, whatever you want to just eat it in the summertime. You can make them spicy. I think this one calls for onions, all the usual things, chilies, thyme, black peppercorns. It's really tasty. And if you don't want to waste all the watermelon rind, all you really have to do is cut the watermelon, take the rind off. You peel the green part with a peeler. Right? This peels real easy. And then you chop it up, and then you'll cook it with all your spice ingredients. Just follow the recipe. It's really easy. It takes a little bit of time, but that's it. Okay? Any questions before we get started? So I'm going to start cooking, and I'm going to talk. Tomatoes are in the nightshade family. I think with eggplant and a couple others. They're from America, right? That's where tomatoes were discovered, in the Americas, not Italy. I know that much, but they are in the nightshade family. I brought a book. There's some fun facts about tomatoes. This book here. You can borrow it if you want. Bring it back next time. You got to come back to the next class, though. Okay? Anything you want to know about tomatoes, that's a good book to learn about tomatoes. So let's get started. We have a big pot. We're going to make the tomato soup first, and then we'll move on to the vinaigrette and then the salad. So just you can follow along with me. We're going to heat the oil in a pot. We're going to saute the onions and the fennel and the garlic, right? Get that going. So one onion, one small onion. Mine's a little large, so we're just going to cut that in half. Again, I cut the onion in half where the root is. Remember that? I know I repeat myself every week or every time I'm here, but I always like to remind folks about the onion. So we're going to peel back that skin. And since we're going to puree this onion, we don't have to be super fancy about how we cut it today. We're just going to get a small to medium dice on it. We're going to saute that in some oil. We're going to heat our skillet up medium heat. I think it calls for 1 cup of olive oil. That looks to be about a cup. What do you think? This soup's nice too if you want to finish with olive oil. After it's pureed, you can add a little olive oil to the top. We've talked about different olive oils, some being very potent and grassy. This is an example of when you would want a really nice olive oil to finish your tomato soup with. Again, it adds another level of creaminess, right, without like a heavy cream type deal. Okay? So we're going to dice that up. Then we're going to start on our fennel and our garlic. That's easy. We got 2 cloves of garlic. We're going to crush those. Again, we're going to puree this soup so we don't have to worry about making really fancy precision cuts here today. Throw that in there. Any other questions while we're chugging along? No. Canned tomatoes, do they work? Yep, they work well too. If you want to, it's winter time, you don't have fresh tomatoes, you can use canned tomatoes. They work well. Fennel, you guys often? Never cut a fennel. So I take these tops off, right? These little fennel, they're called fronds. These are nice. They taste really good. They're great in any kind of salad. So if you want to save these, you can pluck them off. Maybe we'll throw some in our watermelon salad. They're really good, yeah. Fennel's good if you shave it really thin. I know we've used it before, this thing, remember? I talked about chopping my finger off. Yep, so use that, get it really thin. You can eat them raw. We're going to roast them. Has a licorice type. Yeah, anise. Yep, exactly. So good. I like to even cut them in half, like I had them here. Roast them in the oven, a little olive oil, get them caramelized, if you will, like brown. It's so good. Yeah. Okay, I think we found a bigger fennel lover than me back then. Yeah. But he's right. Fennel seeds, that's what you taste. So the fennel seeds grow up here on the fronds. If you grow your own, I grew it one time. They'll start to get seeds. Just like any plant goes to seed, the fennel seeds will grow. And if you pick them at the right time, they're almost like candy. They're really soft and like licorice. It's like eating licorice. It's so nice. I get excited about fennel. He does too. Yeah. I like that. You can smell it too. It's really nice. So we got that cooking. So we're going to saute that. It says 5 minutes or so. Then we're going to just roughly chop our tomatoes. We're going to throw that in there. Throw a couple other ingredients. We talked about stock. You may need some stock, vegetable stock. We call it pipe stock. We're going to use a little water if we need to thin it out. If it gets too thick, you might need to add some water. You can use chicken stock, any kind of broth you want, okay? Medium high, yeah. If you're at home, you can go a little slower. I'm trying to stay on track here too and get everything done for you guys. So you just want everything to be cooked before you put it in the blender. You don't want to blend up raw fennel or onion. So we're just trying to get it soft and tender for the blender. But there's that. So we're going to let that work just a little bit, and then we're going to start chopping up our tomatoes. So these guys here, I'm going to save that. Might want to use that. Tomato, I'm just taking the core out. You can have a little, if you got a little core thing, you can use that. Chop up the tomato. We're just going to throw it right into the pot with everything else. So again, it's really simple. I just make a little cut, take that out, throw that in there, chop it up like that, throw it in the pot. So easy, right? If you're using cherry tomatoes, you can even take those like that, throw them in there if you want to just do that. Okay, it's not a big deal. They're going to cook up and get all smashed. You can cut them in half and throw them in. Depends on how much time you have, right? I'm just going to roughly chop these up. Just try to make it easy. This is something you could even make on a weeknight. This is something you can make serve it cold if you wanted to. Make it a day ahead, like a gazpacho even. It just really, it's a really good soup. It's the before I started cooking, I worked at a restaurant. I was a busboy, you know, just helping out the servers and whatnot. And the chef made this soup one night. He did it with the roasted eggplant that we were talking about earlier. It was literally probably one of the best things I've ever eaten as a 17-year-old. And I was like, I need to learn how to make that. And he gave me the recipe. And so it's literally one of the first things I learned to make. Can you use canned tomatoes? Yeah. You can. Yeah, I've never used anything like a puree or a crush, but I would use like either the whole plum tomatoes or the diced tomatoes. They work fine. I'm sorry? Yeah, yes, you can cut the rest. Yes, of course. Mm-hmm. I think so. I've never tried it. I don't see why. I'm just thinking for a minute. I don't see why it wouldn't. But yeah. You know, in the summertime, tomatoes are they're so plentiful and they're so sweet and they have the right balance. You know, that's why in the recipe I put sugar is optional. That's something you want to think about in the wintertime when you use the canned tomatoes that aren't so sweet, right? And then my thoughts are in the summer, the tomatoes are so good, I wouldn't want to freeze them, right? That's just me. One more time? Yeah, I would just leave the fennel out. You know, I think fennel seed, we were talking about fennel seed earlier. The question was if you can't find fennel, can you sub it with anything else? I would probably not want to use fennel seed because it could get a little carried away in the dish. But again, I've used eggplant before as a substitute in here, or with the eggplant and fennel together works well. All right, one more tomato. We're making a lot of soup today. You guys are going to eat. Okay, so that's working. So we just want to cook all that down and see what kind of consistency we can get here before we start adding. You can see, yeah, you're going to see a lot more juice come out. You saw that I threw the skins and all in there. That's fine because we're gonna blend it up. So I'm not too concerned about the skins. Okay, so that's cooking. All right, let's move on. And then we'll come back and finish the soup up with everything else that it needs. All right, smoky tomato vinaigrette. This is fun. So this is garlic, cherry tomatoes, olive oil, smoked paprika. We're just gonna simmer it for just a few minutes, and then we're gonna put it in this thing, buzz it up, and there's our vinaigrette. I bought some lettuce today so we can have some salads. Okay. Again, this can be made with these whole tomatoes. These can be made with the cherry tomatoes. It does not matter. The only thing that matters is, are tomatoes in season and do they taste good? So we have 1 clove of garlic. We're going to heat our skillet up. We're going to use just a little bit of oil just to saute the tomatoes and the garlic. I'm going to start with the garlic. Again, this is going to be pureed, so we're not worried about how everything looks as far as cuts go. That's in there, and it calls for 1 pint. All right, so we're going to take those. For these, for the sake of time, I will cut them in half just to get them started. You can add the smoked paprika now, or you can add it here in a minute after we cut the tomatoes. We just we want to bloom that out. By bloom it out, again, we're talking about spices. Remember, we've talked about spices before, how we like to toast them, bring them back to life. Same things with the smoked paprika, just bring out the flavor. Pretty high heat. How much paprika we're gonna add? 1 teaspoon. There's that. Have you guys ever made anything like, you guys like smoked paprika? Yeah, good, awesome. All right. It's a good spice to keep around. Gets a nice color on the bottom with the tomatoes. See, that's pretty easy, right? Everything else goes into the blender after these are cooked. Just want to get all those flavors kind of meshed together, the garlic, the tomatoes, and the smoked paprika. And then we'll be ready for the blender. This is getting a fair amount of liquid in it. You can crush these up, or even if you got like a potato masher, I don't think we have one, but if you have like one of those tomato masher things, that's how I make tomato sauce at home for spaghetti or whatever. I'll just smash it up by hand. All right, those things are working. How are we doing on time? 12:26, perfect. Okay, tomato watermelon salad. All right, we're gonna put gloves on for this. We're gonna eat that. Everybody like watermelon? Anybody doesn't like watermelon? All right, fair question. It is very good for you. Yeah, I've heard that. I don't know exactly from a nutrition aspect, but I have heard that watermelon is good for you. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is mix everything together and serve it. That's what the instructions say, right? So pretty simple, right? So if we're using the big chunky tomatoes that we had over there, I would cut them probably in like a 1-inch cube, right? Put those in there. I like the cherry tomatoes, or I like the colorful heirloom tomatoes. Those are great. In the summertime, we're just going to start by cutting these in half. Anybody grow tomatoes? Oh, look at you guys. All right. Any particular varieties you like? Cherry? You grow those? Tell me more. How do you get them to grow? I cannot get those to grow. Oh, that's what happened the last time I grew them. So tomato blight, like the fungus, right? The white fungus gets all over your tomatoes, or, I lose all the flowers. They just fall off. I cannot. So San Marzanos, if you don't know about San Marzanos, they're great for tomato sauce, right? You want to make spaghetti, you want to make pizza sauce. San Marzano, you can buy them in the store. I usually get them in a little cans. They're whole tomatoes. I guess traditionally it's a region in Italy, right, that grows them. And was watching this show with Stanley Tucci. He went to Sardinia, and I think they were growing them there. And what they actually do is they like to stress the plants, so they'll flood the fields, right, with salt water, the seawater. So they'll flood these fields with seawater, and then they'll put the plants in, and then they'll stress them out so they won't give them any water, and it concentrates the flavor in the fruit, right? And then they'll pump more seawater in just to give them a little bit more water to survive. But they use the salt water. This is one particular region. I don't know if it's true for everywhere that grows sand. I doubt it. But it was interesting to learn that. But yeah, I've always wanted to be able to grow San Marzanos. Have you done it successfully? Yeah. Oh. Oh yeah. Okay. We have a tomato expert here today. I love that. That's good stuff. Okay. We're going to take some red onion. We're going to just slice it very thin. Assume everybody likes red onion. I know I ask all these questions. I just want to make sure. I want everybody to enjoy, because we can leave things out. That's the great thing about cooking, right? You can leave something out, or you can put it on the side if you want. Just very thin. I like mine thin. You might even want to use that finger lopper thing over there called a mandolin. You can use that. I'm not going to use that today. Christy provided some really sharp knives here, so this is good stuff. Thanks. My fear someday is here while I'm chopping my finger and cutting it. That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah. Good stuff. All right. We're not going to waste any onion since we all like it. We're just going to slice that thin. Tomato soup. Hope you can smell it. It smells really good. We will add some basil to that, salt and pepper, maybe a little more oil. Probably not going to add sugar to that. It's real nice and thin. And then we're going to tackle that watermelon. Again, this salad's good if you make it the day ahead, so it can refrigerate. It will put off a little bit of water, so you can either save that or drain it off. Just mix that together. The vinegar will help soften the bite from the onion, which is nice. All right, watermelon, here we go. So what I do is I'll cut that off. Usually cut that off. So much waste. That's why I included the recipe for the pickled watermelon rind. Here's what I do. I just go down like that. Any watermelon experts here? You grow watermelon too? No? There's this guy that developed it's called a Bradford watermelon. And I tried to grow it one time. The seeds were, brace yourself, $12 a piece. Yeah. Look it up. Bradford watermelon. I think he's from Georgia. It's amazing watermelon. But, man, I couldn't get them to grow either. I sound like a bad gardener, don't I? I grow basil really well. Rosemary. Thyme. My house is very wooded now too, so we don't have a lot of sun. It's hard to grow things without sunshine. Yeah. All right. Let's take off some of this white part. It's just, July will come and watermelons will get super, super sweet and bright red. This one's not too bad. That watermelon rind we were talking about, here you go. So you take your peeler and you just want to peel off that green part like that. It takes a little time, right? But this, you don't want to pickle the green part. So basically you want to leave this, you can leave the whites. That's what you want, right? Little pink is okay there, but you're after this white part. And then just follow the directions of making your brine and simmering it. All right. I'm not a huge fan of seedless watermelon. I like the seeded. I like ones with seed, but they're hard to find. Everybody grows seedless now. So about 1 inch. Again, size is up to you. Doesn't matter. The way you build your salad's up to you. Doesn't matter. We're just looking to put everything together. Onions, tomatoes. The ratio of watermelon doesn't matter. If you only have a little bit of watermelon, that's fine. More tomato is great. Doesn't matter. Works well with, if you want to try it with peaches, that works well. We love peaches here in the South. Peaches and tomatoes. If you look on the internet, you're going to find this peach tomato spaghetti sauce. You should check it out. It's amazing. Right? Summertime, peaches, tomatoes. Maybe we'll make it together. Maybe in August we can do a peach demo. I don't know. Think about that. Oh, that sounds like a challenge. Will you come in August if I do peaches? Okay. There we go. We just figured out August. I heard this year we might not even get that many Georgia peaches because of the frost. Yeah. All right. So we have our tomatoes. We have our watermelon. We're going to mix that together. We're going to need some basil in there. So I'm going to steal some of this basil we have for the tomato soup. It's a little too much watermelon. Somebody's going to have to eat that by itself. So I'm going to take my basil. You guys good with cutting basil? All right. We are recording, right? Okay, just making sure. So when I do my basil, I like to get them all lined up. Take them off the stem, right? And then, especially for this purpose, just want to slice them very thin. We don't want to chop them. We want to cut them the least amount of times as possible. Because if we start hacking at our basil, what's going to happen? It's going to turn black really fast, and it's not going to look very nice in our salad. This basil is really small, so we can throw the stems in there too. Sometime, if you're growing basil, you might get it to go to flower. If it starts flowering in the pot, you can pick those flowers off, throw them in here. That's good stuff. You can eat the flowers. They're good. Just chop them up a little bit. I had some mint here. I'm going to do the same thing. Fold it up. Slice it thin. I know it doesn't call for mint, but you can use that. Remember we had the fennel pieces? We can throw that in there if we want. I just pick those off and throw them in. Or you can wait till you build your salad and just put these on top. It works well too. Or you can chop them up. Whatever you want to do. This salad is meant to be made quickly and easily. No stress. Right? We don't want to stress. No, we're cooking. Using things that we have. Tomato soup's doing great. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit, and we'll come back and we'll finish that up. That's looking perfect. That's ready to go. Salad's here. What are we missing? Olive oil. Yes. We want to add a little olive oil to this. This is where you would want that good olive oil that we were talking about, right? Something like this. It's really nice. Sherry vinegar. It's my favorite. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of that. Okay. I love the sherry vinegar. We're going to add salt and pepper. So cracked pepper and salt. You don't need a lot. It's up to you guys. You can do that to taste. I grew up eating salt on my fruit, cantaloupe, watermelon. My grandfather, well, we grew up north, so we grew cantaloupes a lot. It's the only time I eat cantaloupe is in the summertime. I think cantaloupe is not very good any other time. Kind of a cantaloupe snob. Yeah, I don't know.
Have you tried cantaloupe with peach ice cream in it?
No, but I'm interested.
My grandmother used to cut a cantaloupe in half and fill it with homemade peach ice cream, and it's a fabulous combination.
Your grandmother sounds like somebody I'd want to meet.
Well, you're a little late, she did.
She sounds like she was a really good cook.
She was.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Okay, that's the watermelon salad. So pretty easy, right? Any questions on that? You know what else is good in there? The fennel. If you shave the fennel really thin that we were talking about, it goes well in there as well. Okay, so that's ready to go. If we want to, we can serve that up if we want to. But you have to pay attention. If you're going to eat this now, I don't want to lose you. Okay, so the smoked tomato vinaigrette, we're going to get back to that. We're just going to dump that. We're going to dump that in here in our trusty blender. This is another thing, if you guys wanted to not dirty so many things, you could make it here. If you had one of those handheld blenders, you can make the vinaigrette right in the pot, right? Add everything, be done with it, right? That's totally cool as well. So, the masher. Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't know. I think they did buy that for us. Okay, so we're going to add a little mustard because we're going to make our emulsification. We're going to add our mustard. We're going to add our apple cider vinegar. You can see I'm measuring everything precisely here, right? We're going to add our oil, and we're going to put everything on the blender. Okay, and a little bit of salt. So we're going to need that. Okay, a little pepper if we want to. Easy. And the top. This thing is really handy dandy. All right, we're going to put that on there. Mix that up. There we go. There's our vinaigrette for our salad. Beautiful. Yeah, looks nice. Let me taste it real quick to make sure. Yeah, that's pretty good. I didn't put a lot of salt in here, okay? So if you guys don't like salt, pretty easy, right? Simple. That's our vinaigrette. I'll get that ready in a second. To finish the soup, let me follow along. We're going to add our basil. Again, we can just throw the basil right in there because we're going to blend it all up. Really easy. The soup doesn't take this long either. We could have blended this thing probably 10 minutes ago. I was just letting it cook because we were preoccupied. So if you're thinking about time, that soup probably needs maybe 20, 25 minutes to cook. Okay. Again, nothing has to be super great because we are blending it up. These stems are pretty small. A lot of times when you grow your own basil, you're going to get thicker stalks, right? You don't want to do that. It gets woody and not so great. All right. You guys are eating now. I lost you. All right. So I like balsamic vinegar in here. That's what I'm going to add. The reason I do the balsamic is more or less just to help so I don't have to add so much salt to it. It helps with our patients. Like I said, this is on the patient menu. So we try to cut back on the salt. But we do add a little bit. We can add more to taste once we're done. I'm going to add some pepper to it. And I'm going to try to make this without adding any water. We're going to see what happens. I don't think we need it. I don't know if we can get everything in here. Oh yeah, we're in business. Again, a hand blender, that would work well. If you guys don't want to dirty your blender, you don't have to. We're going to throw that on. We're going to start, remember, always start on low, so it doesn't explode. You got to be very careful when you put hot liquid in a blender, as we've learned before. All right, let's see what we got here. Taste that really quick. So this is the point where you might want to add other things to adjust your flavor. You might want to add a little sugar. You could add that right now, more balsamic, more olive oil, or more salt. Yeah, that's not too bad. We are going to add a little more salt to that, okay? And I'm going to add a little more oil. This oil helps make things a little creamier for us. Do that. Helps cut some of that acid. Back on low. Okay. There we go. We're going to go with that. There's our soup. Taste this one more time. Yeah, it's pretty good. You know, it may want to add a little more salt. That's up to you guys. I'm trying to be sensitive to everybody and what they like. Any questions on all this? Watermelon salad, good. Yeah. That's kind of nice. I've seen it with, if you've heard of panzanella salad as well, with the bread. I've seen with bread before. So you can take like chunks of bread, crispy bread, toast it, fold it into your salad last minute, right, and eat it like that. Especially if it's like day-old bread or something like that. Just make your croutons ahead of time, throw them in. It's really nice in there too. Again, you can garnish this soup with a little oil if you want. You can add some more basil on top of the soup. Whatever you're looking for.
Thank you for joining Cancer Support Community Atlanta for this program. If you're interested in other live or recorded programs, please visit the online program tab of our website, cscatlanta.org, or follow us on Facebook. We'll be sharing additional information on upcoming programs.